What up? What up? What up? It's your boy Shawty Parker back in the building with another episode of Just My Damn Opinion. You know they like assholes. Everybody got one, and your boy got one too. But guess what's up, man? We're doing things a little different tonight, man. I got a special guest in the building, man. He has so many accolades. He has done so much. But he's a original Zone 6 from Atlanta, ATL. Coach Ronnie Fleetwood is in the building. The man has over 20 plus, and coach, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but he got over 20 plus years of coaching. Some of the small accolades and big accolades that he has achieved during this year. He's a two-time Georgia Athletic Coaches Association Region Coach of the Year, two-time Atlanta Public Schools and Atlanta Coca-Cola Bottling Company Coach of the Year, two-time 100% Wrong High School Coach of the Year, three-time Operational Football 11 Alive Atlanta News Team Week Coach of the Year. All these accolades, Coach. And I guess one of his most famous and best accolade that he has, you put this in there, it was the NFL Atlanta Falcons Coach of the Weekend, final two-time APS Region Champs Coach. Is that something like that, right?
That's correct.
And with that being said, man, I hope I didn't mess up the intro, but welcome Ronnie Fleetwood, one of Atlanta all-time great coaches. Coach, what's going on with you?
Oh man, it's my pleasure, man. Not a whole lot, man. I'm just glad to be on the show with you. I
Well,
appreciate.
I appreciate you, man, taking some time out your schedule and having a little time just to impart a little wisdom on us tonight, man. Um, what I want to do, man, I just really want to get into the nick and cranny of things, man. I just want to know. I know you're an open book and you've done so much, but let's just start from the beginning. How was it growing up in Zone 6, Atlanta's own Kirkwood?
Well, growing up in Zone 6 in Kirkwood, you got to understand that I moved there in 1965. At the time I moved there, Zone 6 was close to being like it is now, very gentrified.
All right.
I was the third black family on our street. And going to school, I went to Cohen Middle School, Murphy High School. I started playing football in the Parks and Recreation League with my Uncle Frank. He would drive through the neighborhood and pick us up in the station wagon and take us over to McCoy Park in Decatur.
Not the station wagon.
In the station wagon. You got 11 football players in the station wagon going to football practice. We used to practice at McCoy Park over in Decatur. And from there, I matriculated into Cohen Middle School. And when I got there, I started playing football, basketball, and running track.
How did that come about, though, Coach? You getting into sports, with you being in, I don't know how it was back then in the city. I don't know if that was considered inner city. I don't know if it was a lot of things you had going on. How did sports come about? How did you get into sports?
Okay. I remember growing up as a little boy, my mom was into sports, and she was a fanatic baseball fan.
Okay.
And wrestling. And every Friday night, she used to take us down to the Municipal Auditorium, and we used to see those guys wrestle. I remember the Dirty Assassins, the Assassin number 1, Assassin number 2. I remember those guys. I remember Ernie Ladd. I remember them guys down there wrestling. And my mom was very into it. And, every Friday night, she would take me down there. And then on the nights when the Braves played baseball, we go to the baseball game. So I grew up in the Hank Aaron era. And I always told my mom I wanted to be like Hank Aaron. I want to play pro baseball. I want to do this and I want to do that. And for me, playing through the neighborhood, it came easy to me. And I at that time I realized I was heads and shoulders better than the guys my age. So my brother started me to playing with older guys. And it just grew from there, Thad. I played every day. And like I said, once I got into middle school, I started playing, and I was one of the standout athletes there. And went on to high school, and that's where I met Coach Lester. And he was my head coach as a ninth grader. We both came to Murphy the same year.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, we came the
Okay.
same. My freshman year in 1973 was his first year as the head coach at Murphy.
Okay.
So we came in together, and the first football meeting we had to introduce ourselves. So when I introduced myself to the team and told him who I was, he stopped everybody and said, "I know that boy." And Coach Adams said, "How do you know him, Coach?" "I know his big head brother." So my brother and Coach Lester and his brothers, they all went to Howard High School together with Walt Frazier and that crew.
Mm-hmm.
So from that day on, we started, our relationship grew. And we became close, and everybody started telling me, "That's your daddy. That's your daddy," because he looked out for me.
Mm-hmm.
Never forget one of his famous quotes was, "Don't let me ride through Kirkwood 10 years from now and see
Mm.
you standing on the corner talking about what you used to do." You know,
Hey, you
so
know what, Coach? I'm glad you said that because that kind of take me to a question that I was going to ask you anyway. Because you being from Atlanta, there has been a lot of change. How was growing up in Kirkwood, which you being involved in sports, obviously, but how was the neighborhood in those times compared to how it is now?
well, in those times, the neighborhood was slightly changing from white to black. Um, the schools were already black.
Mm.
Uh, the people in the neighborhoods, they were moving further. Well, the white people, they were moving further out into the suburbs and trying to get away from, Kirkwood area.
Right.
At the time, Kirkwood was a very tight, close knit community. Didn't have, much crime or anything like that. Um, People had kids staying at home by themselves. People was able to sleep on your front porch without having any problems. You know
Mm-hmm.
that was going on. It was a tight neighborhood. Yeah.
So, what I also want to say, mean to cut you off, Coach. I just put a link in the comments, guys. If anybody want to call in and ask Coach Fleetwood or myself any questions, feel free to tap on that link. When you hit that link, just make sure you turn your camera off, and you'll be on a live phone call with us. Um, so with that being said, Coach, how was it? You grew up in Kirkwood playing sports at a young age. You met Coach Lester your freshman year. That was his high school. I mean, that was his first year as a head coach at that time it was Murphy Crim High School, right?
Murphy High.
So how was it growing up in high school, and possibly I want you to walk me through high school sports a little bit and how that was able to transition to the next phase of your life, which was Tennessee State.
Okay. Um, Coming from the family that I came from, my brother was kind of creating a path. He was 12 years older than me.
Mm,
So growing up as a little boy, all I ever heard of was how great my brother was. How great my brother was. It was him and Walt Frazier. They were outstanding. So that enticed me to want to become more of an athlete because I was in the shadows and I wanted to prove that I could do it too.
mm.
So
Call that
once,
sibling rivalry, man.
yeah, once I got there, once I got to high school and started playing, I realized that I could play and I could play pretty good. And with the motivation of that and Coach Lester, Coach Lester had a strong I don't know what word I'm looking for now, but Coach Lester had a strong say in what our future was going to be like.
Mm,
What I mean by that is, he wouldn't tolerate us, not going to class, not doing what we need to do in the classroom so that we could get a scholarship and go on
another
the
father figure.
right. So, and my father was at home too. I had a father,
Hmm.
my father and my parents, very much in tune to what I did in school because my dad attended all of the PTA meetings.
Right.
My mom didn't have to come. And my dad was the one that came to all the PTA meetings. But anyway, with that being said, I wanted to prove that I could do it as well as my brother did. And because of that motivation, I was able to receive, many awards in high school. I was the most valuable high school football player 3 years in a row.
Okay.
I was the first high school quarterback in the city to pass for over 1,000 yards.
Oh wow.
When I was playing high school football, they weren't throwing the ball like that.
Oh, the Wing T Nation.
It was that dive option, that veer,
Triple option. Yeah.
yeah, all of that. But for some reason, Coach Lester allowed me the opportunity to throw the football. And I tell you something else he did that nobody else would ever know. Dad, I called my own plays.
Mm. As a
He
high schooler.
he never called one single play for me in 4 years.
So
Never.
so so that's basically saying you was a offensive coordinator as a high school quarterback, right?
14 years old.
So
Four,
how were you calling? How would you just call play that you like the most? I mean, how are you doing that?
hey, with no strategic background at all. This is what I want to run. No.
Wow.
Some of the plays I called,
Okay.
um, from watching a lot of football, I recognized down and distance. And I
Hmm.
recognized, what would be appropriate and what would be inappropriate. Uh, at the time when I was 14 years old, Coach Lester gave us an assignment, and he asked us to go home and diagram the defenses that we might face. We had 50, 55 guys on the football team, and I was the only one came back with the assignment.
Because do you understand the kind of pressure that? Could you imagine asking a 14-year-old to do something like that in sports now?
That I coached for 20 something years. I would never allow my quarterback to call his own plays.
Never.
That I can't do
You
it.
got grown men who don't even get to call plays.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
And
so
look,
how did that translate into wins and losses?
okay, my sophomore season, we should have won the region. We were 7-3. We lost to Northside by a score of 3-0. And we should have won that game. The only reason why we lost is because the other guy playing quarterback, he threw 10 interceptions. It was homecoming. So
Hmm.
Lester played all the seniors. And he had 10 interceptions in one game.
What?
10 interceptions in one game. And then the team kind of, they told Lester, Coach Mullins was a senior that year. And they got on Lester about, this is my friend, but he shouldn't have been on the field.
Right.
We trying to win. We ain't playing for friendship. But he threw a lot of interceptions, and we lost that game. And we lost another game to Douglas, 14-12. And we should have won that game also. But anyway, we were 7-3 that year. My junior year, we were 6-4. And then my senior year, we were 6-4.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this. So, with you being able to call plays as a high schooler, did that have any, I guess, any effect on the decision or how you was recruited to go to the next level of football? Was that like a pitching point to coaches or something that you was able to play quarterback and call plays? How did that affect your recruitment, or if it did or didn't?
Well, when I when I finished playing my senior year, I told Coach Lester I thought I was going to go to the University of Missouri. That's
Wow.
where I had made my visits to North Carolina. I made my visits to Alabama, all my visits. But I wanted to go to the University of Missouri.
Why Missouri?
It just felt like me. to
Gotcha.
be. And when I went there, came home, Lester had scheduled a trip to Tennessee State, and he got a 20 passenger van. He took about 16 of us up there on a visit.
Coach trying to create a pipeline.
And when I got there, everything was fine. It was about 10,000 black people on campus. It was a nice campus. I didn't know I was gonna meet my wife there, but I was excited about going. And once I got there, I decided not to play quarterback.
Mm.
The coaching staff didn't say you can't play quarterback. I decided I wanted to play wide receiver.
What made you make that decision to transition from quarterback to receiver?
Because I felt like the tradition was 6'3", 205, 6'4".
Prototypical.
Yeah, prototypical. That's what I felt like. But after I got that, I realized that I could have competed with those guys at quarterback. I even had a few guys well, as a matter of fact, we had a practice one summer. We had a 7-on-7, and none of the quarterbacks were there. I had to play quarterback. And I threw about 4 touchdowns that day. And then after the pass scrimmage, the coach came and told me, he said, Fleetwood, you have a pretty strong arm. I said, well, I used to play quarterback. He said, well, I see that. And the guys used to tell me that I had the ability to throw the ball, but I just didn't want to take that chance on playing quarterback and not being able to play.
Right. And let's be honest too, when you just put it a little bit more in context with the times, and we talking about being prototypical, that how many, what I'm saying? It wasn't a lot of, black men playing the quarterback position at a very high level back then. Not even now. It's more now, but not especially back then. You just wasn't allowed the opportunity as much as you are now, if that
Right,
makes sense.
right. It makes a lot of sense. And with my size, that was extra pressure.
Mm-hmm.
So I said, well, you don't see quarterbacks my size unless you go to Canada or somewhere. You might see somebody, but in the NFL, no. I just felt like it was a done deal.
But ultimately, you decided on Tennessee State. Let me ask you this, because you said Missouri, it's felt like you wanted to go there, but when
Yeah.
you went to Tennessee State and you saw all those people that looked like you, did that have anything to do with your decision?
Yes, and also because I had a lot of the year I went to Tennessee State, I had 5 classmates to come with me. The year before that, it was 5. The
Mm-hmm.
year before that, it was 5. At one time, we had 45 guys on the team from Murphy High School.
Wow. See, that's why Coach took that 16 passenger van up there, because Lester was trying to create a pipeline. So
And
it was probably bigger than you at the moment. You just didn't
oh,
know.
most definitely. We all know what the pipeline was. We all knew what was going on. Anytime, let me tell you this, that I would come into his office, open up his desk drawer, and I would see stacks of letters with my
Mm-hmm.
name on them from Pittsburgh, uh, uh, Kentucky, Alabama, all those schools. And I asked him for my letter. He would tear them up.
Shout
I
out to
had,
C Rob.
I
Coach
had,
C Rob said, "What's up, Coach?" Corey Robinson said,
what's
"What's
up,
up?"
Corey? What's going on, man?
I just put it a little. He just jumped in the chat. I just put it up there. I ain't mean to interrupt you. Go ahead.
Yeah, I had a letter that Lester I wanted. Well, he tore all my letters up,
Mm-hmm.
and he told me I had a basketball scholarship there. And the guy came. We went to the basketball tournament over at Georgia Tech at my senior year, and we had finished that year. We were 17-3.
Mm.
On the team beat us was Southwest Macon and Douglas. And right after
And what was the basketball scholarship to?
Tuskegee University.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, I went. I was the guy came down on the floor, had the scholarship in his hand, offered it to me, and before I could grab it from his hands, Coach Lester snatched it and told him he was going to Tennessee State.
Now you talking about being involved? Okay,
Yeah,
go ahead. You damn, you just, all right.
yeah. He going to Tennessee State. I said, okay. But now, after I got to Tennessee State, man, I loved it. I felt like I was at home because I had so many of my homeboys there with me.
Mm-hmm.
And eventually, I met my wife about 6 weeks later.
Oh, that early into so you going to Tennessee State? You met
Yep,
Miss Aaron? Okay, all right. I
yep.
didn't know.
About 6 weeks, man. About 6 weeks later, I met her. Yep, and we've
So,
been. Go ahead.
well, I was just gonna say, you know, times have changed now. Obviously, from when you was in school, when I was in school, and now we have NIL, right? So, before I even ask you the NIL question, I'm gonna see if I can put you on the spot here.
Okay.
Can you give me a short, quick, funny football story about your time at Tennessee State that's going to be suitable for the public?
Yeah, I can give you that. Okay, you ready?
Yeah, I stay ready, coach.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I was my senior year, and we were going to play Jackson State, down in Jackson, Mississippi, and I was starting, and had a friend of mine that was teaching chemistry at Jackson State. And look, man, she decided she was a friend of my wife first. They were buddies. And she went to Jackson State to teach chemistry after she graduated from Tennessee State. So anyway, we down there, and she decided she wanted to come and see me before the game. So I said, okay, cool. I said, we have a 4:30 practice. I said, right after the practice, I'll be, in the room. Well, she said, okay, I'll be there shortly. Well, we also had a 10:30 curfew.
Mm.
So she decided that she was going to come, and she came about 10:30. So the hotel that only had 3 floors in it. We were the only people staying in the hotel.
The team, right?
We had 11 coaches in the lobby. She walks in the lobby with 2 big grocery bags full of chips, beer, and stuff like that. And she came in the room, and we
Beer?
sat there. 5 minutes after she get to the room, then I hear a knock on the door. It's the coaches. So we trying to hide everything, man. We hiding this, hiding that.
Coach, y'all didn't have room check, curfew check?
Yeah, that's what they were doing.
Gotcha. Okay.
So we done hid everything but the high heel shoes, Dad. Coach opened up the door. He said, "Who these shoes belong to?" I looked at the shoes. I said, "Oh man," I don't know. He said, "I know y'all ain't wearing high heel shoes." I said, "No, we're not wearing high heel shoes." So he starts searching the room. When he starts searching the room, he finds beer, and he take the beer down to the head coach with the high shoes. So the coach called for me. Now I got a roommate, but I'm the oldest guy in the room. So it's my fault. Whatever happened, my fault.
Right.
So I go see head coach. Coach tell him, he asked me, "What you gonna do with the beer?" I said, "I wasn't gonna do anything with the beer, coach. I don't drink beer." He cussed me straight out, told me to get out of his room.
Mm.
But I was telling him the truth. I don't
Right.
drink. I didn't drink beer like that.
That would look, Coach. That where I'm coming from. How she bring Bill to the hotel right before game? Game.
Look. And then we had a meeting the next morning, right? Now this is the funny part. I'm sitting by the door at the back of the meeting room. We got 150 guys sitting in front of me. So Coach done made his point, done said everything he needed to say, and then he closed the meeting by saying, when a country sends a spy to
Mm,
another country and that spy fails to do a job, see, they ain't never welcome back no more.
mm.
So he dismissed the meeting. He told me, he said, don't you walk out of here. He didn't call any names. He just said, you better not walk out of here.
Right.
So I'm sitting by the door there. I can't even get, if I got up and took one step, I'm out the room.
Right.
So the boys walking by me going, I wonder who Coach talking about. I wonder, Fleet, is it you? Is it you? I can't even hold my head up because I don't want them to know it's me, man.
Look,
But long story short, we get all the way to the football game. I'm in the locker room getting spatted up, getting ready to go to war. And right before we went out on the field, he came over and told me, he said, you're suspended.
mm.
He said, you're not going to play. So
Wow.
I'm suspended for. He said, indefinitely. So I said, I mean, so anyway, we get out on the field there. I'm going to just show you how the dice start rolling. We get out on the field. The third play of the game, the guy he put in my spot got hurt. So he turns around. Now he got to put me in the game. There's a guy playing fourth string quarterback named Fleming.
Okay.
Never played wide receiver before in his life. Never practiced wide receiver. Never ran a route. He turned to the sideline there and he formed his mouth to say, I thought he was getting ready to say, Fleetwood. He said, Fleming. I said, what?
So they all on principle, huh? He going down with the
Oh
ship.
my God. Oh my God. Dang. He punished me then, man. He hurt me that time.
Look,
He, I,
Carl,
I
I said,
missed
oh,
6
go
games. I
ahead.
missed
How many games?
6.
6 games over there?
I missed 6 games, Dad. But
Whoa.
we played 11. So the last 5 games, I started. I came back and got my position. And I played, but I missed them first 6, man.
Wow. Now that's a little harsh for me, especially when then nothing happened. I get you breaking
Yeah,
team rules and things like that, but man,
yeah, yeah.
6 games.
6 games.
Then the
Yep.
man let you get dressed and spatted, knowing you weren't gonna play.
Knowing it.
Coach,
No,
I don't know if you remember. Well, our situation was a little different, but I don't know if you remember my senior year. I don't know. I don't even remember what happened, but I did some. I had gotten in some kind of trouble, and y'all didn't play me. Y'all didn't. I guess I wasn't supposed to play, but I dressed out, and we was playing. I think it was South Fulton, but we was struggling. I think he had let Zach start it for him. Zach was starting in my place, and we was struggling. But I know I got in maybe the first or second play and scored on the first and second play. I got in there and played the rest of the game. But I don't know what I did. I don't think I did nothing that would I was been suspended that long. But yeah, that was a little harsh right there.
that was
Uh,
hard. But see, I'm gonna tell you something else too. A lot of things that I learned from that coach, I tried to matriculate it down to you guys. You know what I mean? And it taught me in the long run. At the end, it really taught me. It gave me better discipline, and you have to stay focused. You
mhm,
know, I don't work for my freshman year at Tennessee State, the spring I was starting to split in. And then they moved me 2 years later from split to flanker behind 2 guys that were already over there. I had to
mhm,
beat them. And then, I've always had to work extra hard, it seemed like to me, to
mhm.
get what I wanted. And after I had worked so hard to get it, man, I was like, you just got to stay focused. You can't let
Right.
nothing interrupt that focus. Nothing. And I tried to do y'all like that when I was coaching you guys. You have to stay focused. But the difference between you guys and me, we always put the team first. You
I
you
don't know
know,
how to take that, coach.
the thing is, we didn't want if we didn't want to confuse what was right for you
Right.
with what's best for the team. You see what I'm
Okay.
saying? If it meant sitting you on the bench and we lose, oh no, we ain't doing that.
Right. Right.
We ain't gonna do
Gotcha.
that. I just have to figure out another way to punish you. You know what I mean?
Right.
So,
So
but that coach I had didn't think like that.
right. And
Mm-hmm.
ain't no times were a little different too. Let me ask you this, coach. So it's kind of give me a picture, paint a picture for me, your transition, because this is something that I talk with a lot of athletes about, and I've done a previous show on before, which I want to do again because I think it's such a very important topic. As a matter of fact, I may have to bring you back for that show. So give me paint a picture for me for your transition from Tennessee State into real life, because I tell people a lot of time, a lot of athletes have a very hard time transitioning from sports to real life if there is no NFL after college. So can you kind of give me a picture of how you kind of finished up the Tennessee State? Were you able to get your degree? And after you got your degree, if you want to talk about NFL aspirations, but just give me that finishing Tennessee State that to the transition of real life and how that went.
Okay. I'm glad you asked that. I'm glad you brought that up because I can speak on that.
Okay.
Uh, when everybody that comes to Tennessee State, I was at practice one day and we had this conversation on the field, man, and the guys were talking about everybody wanted to go to the NFL. Everybody had NFL aspirations.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody thought they were NFL ready, and there were only a few guys who were going to school, trying to get a degree, you know. And I was like, okay, well, everybody can't make the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but after being at TSU for 5 years and all the blood, sweat, and tears and all the hard work, all I wanted was a shot. Give me a shot to play in the NFL. If I get a shot, then it's on me. If I make it or don't make it. But if I don't get the shot, then I'm going to be upset. So luckily, I got a shot. I was invited to the Detroit Lions free agent camp. I came home on a Saturday morning, and they called me on a Monday and told me I need to be in Detroit that Tuesday morning.
Mm-hmm.
I flew up, I called my agent, and I flew up there and had a good workout, man. I stayed up there for a whole week. The free agent camp was a week. I stayed up there for a whole week, man, did good, and they cut every receiver up there except me, and there was a big white guy from the University of Miami that played tight end. We the only two people they kept out of the free agent camp.
Mm.
But when it came time to sign papers, I told them I wasn't signing no papers until they speak with my agent, which is what my
Mm.
agent telling me.
Right. That's the advice he gave you. Right.
Yeah. So I said, well, okay, then he's in New York. I'm in Detroit. I'm not gonna sign. I can't sign. But the people at Detroit was telling me, if you don't sign it now, you won't be able to sign.
So you on the clock.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I can't. I got to do what he say. So they told me. I said he'll be here tomorrow. They said, well, tomorrow be too late.
Mm.
So I said, cool. I packed up. I tried to go to Tampa Bay. When I get to Tampa, they tell me you can't come down here because you belong to the Detroit Lions. I said,
But if you hadn't signed, now how would your rights be to them?
how do I belong to them and I ain't signed no papers? They tell
Oh,
me I was in their
in their camp.
camp. Yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah. I just thought about that.
Yeah, I had been released. So I said,
Yeah.
look, it don't matter to me. I'm just trying to sign with somebody. So long story short, that didn't happen. I said, well, maybe it wasn't meant to be. I wasn't
Mm-hmm.
gonna stress over it. I came back, and at the time, Thad, the free agent money that they were paying football players then was equivalent to the money that I could make teaching school.
Mm.
So I said, well, I may as well go on and get my degree. I got my degree, came
Hey,
home.
Coach, let me cut you off right there. Start right there at the degree. And the
Mhm.
only reason I'm cutting you off, cause it's funny that you said that. I had a buddy. I won't mention his name. He had a shot at the NFL, right? It didn't work out free agency. I remember one time he made a conscious decision, and I think that's what you did. He made a conscious decision to say, "Hey, man, I'm finna stop chasing this ball, and I'm gonna get my degree." I remember sitting down. I was still in school at the time. I remember sitting down. He was back in school because he came back to get his degree. The Chicago Bears called him right there. We were sitting down playing the video game and said, "Hey, we want to put his agent, the Chicago Bears and his agent on the phone. Say we want to put you on the plane tomorrow, and you come out to try out for camp." We had we had what they call them finals the next day, and he was just like, "Bro, I'm gonna get my degree. I ain't worried about football no more." And hung up on the agent.
Mm.
Just like that. I mean, he just had done made up his mind that at
Yeah.
that point, I'm gonna go and get my degree. I ain't worried about no more football. So that just made me think in that particular moment when you were saying what you just said.
Yep. But when you know, you know. You know.
Right.
So that
So
was
you made a conscious decision to go ahead and get your degree from Tennessee State after not going to Tampa Bay, correct?
right.
All right.
And once I got that degree, it opened up other doors for me. It allowed me to become a football coach. It allowed me to do things that I wanted to do in life. It allowed me to pursue my wife, make things easy for us. And it just kept me around the game of football and
Mhm.
athletics. You know.
So you going from being an athlete to now you are coaching athletes. Now you're trying to mold the minds of young men. And at that time, you was a young man yourself. So how was that transition?
Okay, at first, it's like anything else you do. I had to prove myself.
Hmm.
My first year coaching, I was 25. I had a lot of guys on the team, 18.
Right.
So I'm 6 years older than them, six,
Hmm.
so they like, man, this young guy, they looking at me. And plus, I had my nephews, my nephew was the same age as those guys.
Mm.
They were friends. So, it just, it was tough.
And you
And one,
probably talk like them and look like them at that point, coach. So it's probably hard to,
yep, yep.
separate you from coach and as a coach and a friend, so to speak, almost, I guess.
Right, right. And see, that's in their eyes, that's the way they saw it. And once I proved myself, I had to get their attention by the knowledge of the game that I had. You
Hmm.
Like, they had never been taught football this way. They had never heard people coming out of zone 6, Kirkwood area, speaking to them the way I was speaking to them.
And when you say talk football or learn football that way or this way, what do you mean exactly by that? Are you saying that there was a transitional period in terms of how the game of football was being played, or it was just more of the way that you actually taught football?
I think it was more actually the way I taught it and to make them understand it. My method was this. It's always been this. If you tell a person why he's doing something, he'll remember it better, as
Hmm.
opposed to telling him to do something.
Right.
If I tell the split end, hey, run down there and run a post at the safety. Okay, and then 10 plays later, I come back and tell him run a post at the safety. And he's, well, why am I running this post? You got to run the post at the safety to force double coverage on the backside. Now he knows why he's doing what he's doing
Hmm.
on the backside, so we can do what we need to do on the front
Right.
side.
You gotta understand he's just a cog in the machine. Like we need you to do what you need to do for the car to run right, for the whole engine to run right.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yep.
So let me ask you. So coming into, and I'm sure there were in your coaching experience, how was? I mean, I'm sure there were some good times and the bad times. Tell me something about maybe some of your least successful teams, your most successful teams and how that maybe changed the way you coach or help create your coaching style?
Okay. In 1986, that was my first year coaching at Murphy. Prior to me coming to Murphy, um, the future wasn't so bright.
Mm.
Uh, People were beating those guys, man, putting 60 and 50 points up on them, and Lester couldn't score. But now keep in mind, he didn't have the staff that he needed.
Mm.
He only had himself. The other people, you know who they were. People like, classroom who never taught or played the
Yeah.
game before.
Yeah.
You know, so he was out there trying to do everything, man, and didn't have any help. So I came home the spring before I graduated, and he asked me what was I going to do. I told him, I want a job. So when I came home, I was hired at Mays High School.
Mm.
And he found out I was hired at Mays, and he had contact with people, and he called around and did what he had to do. And he told them people, he said, "No, he ain't going to Mays. He coming over here." So about 2 or 3 days later, I was at Murphy. And we started then. And when I saw the athletes, and I've always said this, we have had so many athletes at Crim and Murphy High School. And before I go any further, let me say this. You can be the best coach in the world, but if you don't have athletes, it's not going to work.
That is true.
It's about the Jimmys and the Joes. It's not
Oh,
about
oh, oh, it ain't the Belichick way.
nah. You gotta have folk. See, Thad, let me
Okay.
tell you, man. See, I tell my wife this all the time. See, that team you played on, y'all spoiled us. Y'all spoiled me. I'm gonna put it like that. Because see, it was easy for us to go out there and score 30, 40, 50 points on somebody.
Mm-hmm.
The only reason why we didn't score 50 points on somebody because Lester pulled us off. Lester would tell me, stop throwing the ball, stop doing this, stop doing that. And I'm
So
trying to put 100 on you.
now, Coach, so what I want to say is this right here because you kind of jumped ahead of me. So speaking of, well, not that team in particular, you was talking about, so I guess some of the struggles you had in the beginning, and I think you kind of transitioned to your better team when you start talking about possibly us. I'm not right, but I want to say to the people on this particular podcast, if you're listening, Coach, I want you to talk about my junior and senior year class. I wish I had the thumbnail, but I think this is probably one of the best teams in Atlanta, especially at the time that no one knew of. We were the only team to go undefeated back to back in the regular season. We were invited down to the was it the Capitol? We
Yep.
received the key to the city from the mayor, and that's actually the picture on the thumbnail. So if you remember anything about that, just talk about that little bit, that team right there that maybe no one has really known of.
Okay, I could talk for days about that. But one of the things I'm going to mention about that team is this, and this is what people probably don't realize. There's a school in South Georgia called Southeast Bullock.
Mm-hmm.
They have the scoring title for the state. That record has been standing for many, many years. Okay, at one point in time, we were averaging about 50 some points a game. We were threatening their record.
Mm.
At the end of the season, we didn't average 50 some points a game, but we averaged about 48. And that's the closest anybody has come to breaking their record. We were also averaging about 600 yards per game. That's total offense.
Right.
That's kicking game, offense, passing, running. And I thought that was outstanding. When I used to tell people how you guys were averaging 40 and 50 yards of return on the kickoff return team, they thought I was lying.
Mm.
But this is some true stuff I'm saying.
Yeah.
These guys actually returning kicks 40, 50, 60 yards.
Yeah, I mean, they would rather kick the ball out of bounds and lose field position than kick the ball to us.
They were kicking it in the stands. I heard people say, "We ain't gonna kick it to them. We gonna kick it in the stands." Okay,
And
well, it,
then I remember, coach, at one point in time, you would only have myself back there as a punt returner. Then they started angle kicking it. Then we put Frank back there so
yeah,
they could stop angle kicking it. And then they just started kicking it out of bounds.
that's right. You're absolutely right. That's exactly what happened. Yep.
So let me ask you. So how was that? You know, if you can remember, how was that feeling of being recognized as one of the better coaches in the city amongst your peers? Being at a smaller school, maybe not necessarily one of the bigger schools like a Southwest the Cab, a Douglas High School or something like that. You know, Quad A, 5A school, things
Yeah.
like that. How was that feeling if you can remember that?
It was an outstanding feeling. We gained a lot of respect. People had to respect us. Um, we were the only school that could go outside of 285, play football and win games. We would go anywhere in the state and play and still win games. Nobody else could do that. Um, when we go to coaching meetings, other coaches would come up to us and, you know, let us know what a great job we were doing. And in the beginning, I was a young cat, man. So, they didn't want to give me any respect anyway because I was a young cat. And Lester, they used to feel like Lester just let him do what he wanted to do. But it wasn't like that. You know,
Mm,
stuff was pre-planned, pre-calculated, and, you know, measured. Everything we did was very, very methodical.
right.
I watched a lot of film. A lot of kids wasn't doing that back then. A lot of coaches wasn't doing that. I got to the point where I was taking the film projector home with me, and I'm watching film 6 days a week
Hmm.
because I wanted to know what to do when I needed to do it. And I made this statement earlier. It's all about the Jimmys and the Joes.
Right.
So you got guys who can play, man. You have a pretty good chance of winning a lot of games. And we definitely had guys who could play at Crim High School. It wasn't no secret. We had good guys, and they had some good coaching.
Hmm.
Yeah.
With that being said, coach, it's crazy how we don't almost been on almost an hour. So I'm gonna try to wrap this thing up a little bit here. And you help me transition to another question. Throughout the years, you obviously have coached some great players, some great guys. Do you still keep in a relationship with any of your former players to this day?
Yes, I do. Quite a few of them. I still talk with certain guys. I talk with you a lot. I talk with Frank. I talk with still talk with Larry. I still talk to quite a few of the guys, man. I bump into them everywhere I go. They'll even call me sometimes, and we'll
Hmm.
talk. But I have a few guys that I coached that are into coaching now. They call and want to get ideas about certain things. We'll chat about that, and I try to give them, the information that I have and what I think might be best for them in their situation. Quite often I get with Coach Atwaters and I go and watch him practice or go to his practice and try to assist when I can. I don't try to. I'm not there every day, but I may go a
Right.
few days, and look at something. And if I see something that I think will help him, I give him that information. And of course, I still go to as many games as I can go to.
Right.
I try to keep in touch with him, man, and keep up with him. As if I can help him, I help him out.
Okay. Well, with that being said, coach, you want to, maybe let the people know you got anything going on, any aspirations or anything you need to, publicize or anything right now while we on my small platform. I think you talked to me at one point in time that you were maybe coming up with some type of book or something that you was going to come out with.
Yeah, I've been working on this book, man, for a while now, and you know, it's every time I see something, I feel like I forgot to put this in, or I add this, or I think about something else I could do, and I add that, But right now, I'm working on it. It's going to be about a 10-chapter book.
Okay.
Um, I've already got the format down. I need to work on my illustrations. And once I put the illustrations down, I'll be ready for print. And then we'll go ahead and get it done. But
So, so without divulging too much information, what is this book going to be about? Is it a memoir of your life? Is it football? Is it I don't know. Is it fact? Is it fiction? What is this book about?
this book will be about attacking the red zone. I noticed, in football, man, a lot of strategies come into play when you're inside the red zone.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, my thing about the red zone is I'm just trying to enlighten people on how to attack it. You can attack it many different ways, but if you want to attack it with the passing game, this is what you have to do. It's almost like playing basketball when they start moving bodies and setting
Mm-hmm.
pick screens and stuff like that. It's the same thing in football. Now,
Mm-hmm.
the closer you get to the goal line, the less field you have to operate in. So you can't go vertical. You have to make them go horizontally.
So you talking base? You really talking X's and O's in your book?
Yes,
I
yes,
definitely want to read that for sure. I'm buying a copy. You definitely got one buyer right here for sure.
yes, yes, absolutely. But as soon as I get the illustrations down and I'll be ready to send it to print, man, we'll be ready to publish.
Okay. Well, y'all heard it from the horse's mouth, man. When Coach come out with his book, make sure to check out that book from Coach Ronnie Fleetwood, man. We done been on about an hour. I'm glad we was able to do this interview. Me personally, man, I wish I could show more appreciation, which I'm sure I will as time goes on. You was definitely a father figure to me. You helped mold me in many ways that I probably had never even said or even been able to express. I try to, keep in touch with you to show that gratitude. But with that being said, man, you have helped a lot of guys come through Crim/Murphy High School. You helped raise a lot of guys, and I'm sure I can speak for everyone when I say this, man. We truly, truly appreciate it, and you need everything that's coming to you, deserve everything that's coming to you with all your flowers. So shout out to Coach Ronnie Fleetwood, his family, and all. Coach, you want to say anything else before we get out of here?
Yes, man, I really appreciate you having me on, man. It's been a pleasure. And if there's anything I can do, man, to help this, move forward for you, don't hesitate. Don't feel small. Give me a call.
I like that. I like that. And coach, I'm gonna hang up on this podcast, but don't you hang up. You just hang around. So
Okay.
with that being said, everybody, y'all can catch me tomorrow night with my normal crew. Just my damn opinion. It will be back on schedule. And y'all know when we have a show, man, ain't no telling what we're gonna be talking about. So it'll be the normal crew. Catch me tomorrow night. I'm sorry, Wednesday night, 9:30. Just my damn opinion. You know they like assholes. Everybody got one, and your boy got one too. And we up out of here, man. Shout out to everybody in the comments, man. Appreciate y'all tapping in with your boy. I hope you enjoyed the show.